Kajal Popania. In this video lecture, we are going to discuss about hormonal regulation of blood glucose level in our body and diabetes mellitus disorder. As we know, glucose is carbohydrate currency of the body. Glucose molecule which provide the energy to our body, so it is known as carbohydrate currency. The adult human body contains about 18 gram free glucose in the body structure. The liver, the only organ, has about 100 gram stored glycogen. From the stored glycogen, the degradation of that, they provide the glucose as an energy. Healthy individual is capable of maintaining the blood glucose concentration within the narrow range. The healthy individuals, they are the capable that maintaining the blood glucose concentration in the normal range. The fasting blood glucose level in post-absorptive state is 70 to 100 milligram per deciliter. The fasting glucose level in the post-absorptive means the after the meal absorption, that is the range is 70 to 100 milligram per deciliter. In plasma glucose level, it is the 80 to 120 milligram per deciliter. This range, this is the normal range of the blood glucose concentration. The term hyperglycemia refers to an increase in the blood glucose above the normal level. In the previous slide, we saw that the normal level of the blood glucose concentration, that is the 80 to 120 milligram per deciliter. Above the normal level, the increase in the blood glucose, that is known as the hyperglycemia. Hypoglycemia, the decreases the blood glucose concentration. That means the 80 to 120, that is the normal range of the blood glucose level. From that, the decreasing the blood glucose concentration in our blood, that is known as the hypoglycemia. Excretion of the glucose in the urine is known as the glycosuria. The urine excretion in which the glucose contained, that is known as the glycosuria. So hyperglycemia, that means increase in the blood glucose concentration above the normal level. Hypoglycemia, that is the decreases the blood glucose concentration, and the glycosuria, that is the extraction of the glucose in the urine, that is the glycosuria. The concentration of the blood glucose is dependent on the quantity of the glucose that enters the circulation from various sources. The sources like the dietary carbohydrates, glycogenolysis, gluconeogenesis, and the amount that is utilized for different metabolic purpose like glycolysis, glycogenesis, fat synthesis, etc. The quantity of the blood glucose level that enters into the circulation, that contains the concentration of the blood glucose level. The balance between the production of the glucose and the utilization of the glucose, they contains the concentration of blood glucose level in our body. The various sources, from that the glucose we obtain like dietary carbohydrates. From the carbohydrates, then glycogenolysis, that means the glycogen breakdown. Gluconeogenesis, that means the glucose synthesis from the non-carbohydrate compounds, and where the other side the utilization of the glucose, that means the glycolysis, the breakdowns of the glucose. Glycogenesis, that means the glycogen synthesis from the glucose. Then fat synthesis, fat synthesis from the glucose. So balance between the glucose synthesis and the glucose metabolism, that contain the concentration of the blood glucose level in our body. Here is the chart where the sources of the blood glucose level and the utilization of the blood glucose. Here first of all, that is the dietary carbohydrates. From that we obtain the various carbohydrates in our body. From that the digestion and absorption, the glucose they are circulate in our body. From that glycogenolysis, in which the lactate formation and lactate produce the gluconeogenesis. In the gluconeogenesis, lactate is converted into the glucose. Similar amino acid, then the glycerol and the propionate goes into the gluconeogenesis pathway, which produce the glucose. And the last, glycogenolysis. Glycogenolysis, that means breakdown of the glycogen in our body, which produce the free glucose. Then utilization of the body, where the blood glucose is utilized for the energy production in the glycolysis and the TCA cycle and the glycogenesis, that means glycogen synthesis, synthesis of the other monosaccharide molecules as well as the amino sugars. Then glucose enters into the HMP shunts for the pentosis and the NADPH production and the synthesis of the fat. So the balance between the sources of blood glucose level and utilization of the blood glucose in our body, which determine the concentration of glucose in the body. Various sources of the blood glucose. First, dietary sources. The dietary carbohydrates are digested and absorbed as a monosaccharide, like glucose, fructose and the galactose. Glucose molecule which directly enters into the blood circulation, whereas fructose and the galactose first enter into the liver. The liver is capable of the converting fructose and galactose into the glucose molecule, which can readily enter into the blood. Next, gluconeogenesis. Gluconeogenesis, that means the glucose synthesis from non-carbohydrate compounds like glycerol, propionates, amino acids and the lactate. The degradation of the glucose in our muscles result in the formation of the lactate. Then breakdown of the fat in adipose tissues will produce the free glycerol and the propionates. This lactate, glycerol, propionate and amino acids are good precursor for the glucose synthesis, as we know that is the gluconeogenesis pathway that actively occurs in the liver and the kidney. This glucose is enter into the blood circulation. So by gluconeogenesis pathway, the glucose enters into the blood. Gluconeogenesis continuously adds glucose to the blood. The Cori cycle is responsible for the conversion of the muscle lactate to glucose in liver. The Cori cycle, that the formation of the glucose from the lactate, that is known as the Cori cycle, which is responsible for the conversion of lactate to glucose in liver. The produced glucose is enter into the blood circulation. Next, glycogenolysis. As we know, the glycogen breakdown or the degradation in the liver, it is known as the glycogenolysis pathway. The degradation of the glycogen in liver produces the free glucose molecule. This is in contrast to muscle glycogenolysis, where glucose is not formed in the sufficient amount due to the lack of the enzyme, that is the glucose 6-phosphatase enzyme. The liver, that only organ that contains the enzyme glucose 6-phosphatase. So the degradation of the glycogen take place in presence of the glucose 6-phosphatase and gives the glucose molecule. Whereas muscles, they lack of the enzyme glucose 6-phosphatase, so they are not form the sufficient amount of the glucose. Next, role of the hormones in blood glucose homeostasis. The hormones play a significant role in the regulation of the blood glucose concentration in the body. Insulin lowers the blood glucose level. That means it is a hypoglycemic hormone. Insulin lowers the blood glucose level. So it is hypoglycemic, where the rest of the hormones that oppose the action of insulin. That means they increase the blood glucose level, so they are the hyperglycemic hormones. So insulin, that is the hypoglycemic hormone, where the rest of the hormones, they are the hyperglycemic hormones. The first, insulin hormone. Insulin is produced by beta cells of islets of Langerhans, which is response to hyperglycemia. That means the elevated blood glucose level in the blood. The some amino acid, free fatty acids, ketone bodies and the drug such as tolbutamide also cause the secretion of the insulin. The amino acid and the fatty acid and the drug tolbutamide, they cause the secretion of the insulin. That means they activate the secretion. They stimulate the secretion of insulin in our body. Insulin is basically a hypoglycemic hormone that lowers in blood glucose level through various means. So it is known as anti-diabetogenic hormone. Insulin, that is basically hypoglycemic. That means it lowers the blood glucose level. So it is a anti-diabetogenic hormone. Next hormone, glucagon. Glucagon, that is synthesized by alpha cell of islets Langerhans of the pancreas. It is a hypoglycemia where stimulates its production. That means our low blood glucose level in body, which produce the production of glucagon in the alpha cell of Langerhans. Glucagon is basically involved in elevating blood glucose concentration. So hypoglycemia, that stimulate its production. So glucagon basically elevate the blood glucose concentration. So it is a hypoglycemic hormone. It enhances the gluconeogenesis and the glycogenolysis to produce the glucose for the elevation of that concentration. So gluconeogenesis, from the glucose is synthesized in the pathway, and glycogenolysis, that means glycogen breakdown and produce the free glucose. So the blood glucose concentration is elevated. Next, epinephrine hormone. This hormone is secreted by adrenal medulla gland. It acts both on muscles as well as the liver. About glycogenolysis, by increasing the phosphorylase activity. We know the in glycogenolysis pathway, the phosphorylase enzyme activity on the glycogen structure, where the free glucose is produced. So the epinephrine is directly act on the phosphorylase activity. The end product is glucose in the liver and the lactate in the muscle. The net outcome that the epinephrine increase the blood glucose level. In the glycogenolysis, the end product of the glucose, that is the in liver and lactate in the muscle. Lactate again go through the gluconeogenesis pathway and produce the glucose. So net outcome of the epinephrine hormone, that is increases the blood glucose level. So it is a hyperglycemic hormone. Next, thyroxine hormone. The hormone of the thyroid gland, it elevates the blood glucose level by stimulating the hepatic glycogenolysis and the gluconeogenesis. Thyroxine that produced by the thyroid gland and it elevates the blood glucose level. So it is a hyperglycemic hormone and it stimulates the glycogenolysis, that is glycogen breakdown, and gluconeogenesis, that is the glucose synthesis from non-carbohydrate moieties. Next hormone, glucocorticoids. These hormones are produced by the adrenal cortex gland. Glucocorticoids stimulates the protein metabolism and increase the gluconeogenesis. The glucocorticoids stimulate the protein metabolism where the protein metabolizes into the amino acid and from the amino acid the glucose is synthesized by the gluconeogenesis pathway. The glucose utilization by the extrahepatic tissue is inhibited by the glucocorticoids. So the net effect, that is the glucocorticoids, is elevated blood glucose concentration in our body. So it is a hyperglycemic hormone. Glucocorticoids is the hyperglycemic hormone. Next, growth hormone and the adrenocorticotropic hormone, that is the ACTH. The anterior pituitary gland secretes the both growth hormone as well as the adrenocorticotropic hormone. The uptake of the glucose by certain tissues is decreased by the growth hormone. ACTH decreases the glucose utilization. So net effect of the both hormones, that is the hyperglycemic. Uptake of the glucose, that is decreases by the growth hormone. So there is a no utilization of the glucose in our body by the both ACTH and the growth hormone. So net outcome of that hormones, that is the blood glucose level is high in our body. So these hormones is hyperglycemic in the nature. So the only one hormone, that is the insulin, that is hypoglycemic hormone, as well as other, that means rest of the hormones, they are the hyperglycemic hormone. Next, diabetes mellitus. Diabetes mellitus is a metabolic hormone. More appropriately, we can say that it is a disorder of the fuel metabolism. The fuel metabolism, that means the glucose metabolism. It is the mainly characterized by the hyperglycemia that leads to the several long-term complications in our body. It is also known as the hyperglycemia, that means the increased blood glucose level in the body. So it leads to the several long-term complications of the bodies. Diabetes mellitus broadly divided into the two groups. First, insulin dependent diabetes mellitus, it is the IDDM, and non-insulin dependent diabetes mellitus, that means NIDDM. This is the classification that is mainly based on the requirement of the insulin for the treatment. So diabetes mellitus, that is divided into the two parts: insulin dependent diabetes mellitus, IDDM, and the non-insulin dependent diabetes mellitus, that is the NIDDM. First, IDDM, insulin dependent diabetes mellitus. It is also known as type 1 diabetes. It is also known as juvenile diabetes. Mainly occurs in the childhood, particularly between the 2 to 15 years in age. Insulin dependent diabetes mellitus, that is account for about 10 to 20% of the non-diabetics. This disease is characterized by almost total deficiency of insulin due to the destruction of the beta cells of the pancreas. Mainly IDDM, that is type 1 diabetes as well as the juvenile diabetes. Mainly it occurs into the childhood between the 2 to 15 years of the age. The IDDM, that disease characterized by the total deficiency of the insulin hormone due to the destruction of the beta cell of the pancreas gland. Beta cell destruction may be caused by the drugs, viruses, and the autoimmune disease. The beta cell destruction of the pancreas gland that caused by the use of the over drugs, then the viruses attack, and the autoimmune diseases. Due to the certain genetic variation, the beta cells are recognized as non-cell and they are destroyed by the immunomediated injury. The symptoms of the diabetes appears when 80 to 90% of the beta cells have been destroyed. The IDDM symptoms, that means insulin dependent diabetes mellitus symptoms, that is appear when 80 to 90% of the beta cells have been destroyed. The pancreas ultimately fails to secrete the insulin into the response of glucose ingestion. The patient of the IDDM requires the insulin therapy. The destruction of the beta cells of pancreas, so there is a fails to secrete, that means production of the insulin in response to the glucose level increases. So the patient of IDDM requires the insulin in therapy as well as in the treatment. Next, non-insulin dependent diabetes mellitus, it is also known as type 2 diabetes. Adult diabetes, also known, it is the most common, that is 80 to 90% of the diabetic population. Most of the population, they contain the NIDDM, that is the type 2 diabetes. NIDDM occurs in the most of adults, means above the 35 years, and is less severe than the IDDM. The causative factor in the NIDDM include the genetic, environmental factor. The more commonly they occur in the obese individuals. The causative factor of the NIDDM, that is the most genetic factors as well as the environmental factors, and the most commonly that is the obese individual. The NIDDM, that is occurs into the obese person. Overeating coupled with the underactivity, that means no activity, leading to the obesity, which is associated with the development of the NIDDM, non-insulin dependent diabetes mellitus. The obesity acts as a diabetogenic factor in genetically predisposed individual by increasing the resistance to the action of insulin. This is due to the decrease in the insulin receptors on the insulin responsive cells. The overeating with no activity, so it leads to the obesity and produce the NIDDM. So obesity acts as a diabetogenic factor. So the obese person, that means individuals, increases the resistance to the action of insulin. So the decrease in the insulin receptor on the insulin target cell, which leads to the non-insulin dependent diabetes mellitus, that is a type 2 diabetes. The patient of NIDDM may have either normal or even increased insulin level. The NIDDM patient having the normal range of the insulin level as well as the increased insulin level, but the overeating causes increased insulin production but decrease the synthesis of insulin receptor. The overeating that causes the insulin production, but there is no insulin receptor for the synthesis in our body. This is based on the fact the weight reduction by diet control alone is often sufficient to correct the NIDDM. For the correction of the NIDDM, there is a weight reduction by the diet control, that is the treatment of the NIDDM. Here is the overview of IDDM and the NIDDM. The general difference between the type 1 diabetes and the type 2 diabetes. The characters, they are the general characters, then the biochemical characters and the clinical characters. The general characters of the IDDM, that is prevalence, that means the worldwide 10 to 20% of the diabetic population they are suffering from the IDDM, where the 80 to 90% of the diabetic population they are suffering from the NIDDM. The age that is the below the 20 years, they usually childhood, they suffer from the type 1 diabetes, and above the 35 years they suffering from the type 2 diabetes. Then general biochemical characters and the clinical characters were given in the chart as we discussed in the previous slides. So this is the type 1 and the type 2 diabetes. This is the main overview of that diabetes mellitus disorder. Thank you.